Welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House. Today I have a special guest, Jason Arceneaux, who is a dog trainer. He has a dog training business, very successful, has gone through the ringer, it sounds like. So we're going to get to hear his story today because he also helps dog training business owners. So welcome, Jason. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me on here.
You're welcome. Can you first start out with telling us a little bit about your background? How did you get into dog training and then coaching dog training businesses?
Sure, absolutely. So back a while ago, I was a police officer, municipal police officer, and I've been doing that for 15 years. And I went to a call that kind of changed the whole trajectory of my entire career. Right, I ended up with PTSI, so post-traumatic stress injury, and I was told not to go back to policing. So it threw a wrench in my plans. Right, I had a family, and I didn't know where I was gonna come up with my income, my career. I've always been interested in dogs. My dad raised dogs for the RCMP. He was part of that initial implementation program for the RCMP police dogs. So I was kind of always around dogs. So I thought, well, this is something I'm passionate about, something I like to do. So why not I try and get into dog training? So after I was told I couldn't go back, took a few training. I went to Academy in North Carolina for 6 months, in Europe for a month with some agencies there and sport dog people. I went to school here in Canada as well. So a few dog training certifications, right? And a lot of experience. And then I opened my business. That's kind of how I got into it. And at first it was just acreage. I built a couple of dog runs and was doing some training out of there. And that's how I got started.
Okay, nice. So
Yeah.
you didn't end up working for a dog training company or anything. You just dove right in.
Just dove right in. Yeah. You know what? Might as well just do it on my own and get started. I mean, I think in Canada, industry is a little bit further behind than in the United States, from what I've noticed.
Okay.
So, like see in the States, it's a bigger thing than it is here in Canada. But it
I
is, we are starting to catch up a little bit, but we're still about 5 years or so behind, I would say.
Okay, which is a great position to be in, really, in your
Yeah,
shoes,
absolutely.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're in Canada. Whereabouts in Canada are you?
In Calgary,
Okay.
Calgary, Alberta. Yeah.
And you had a family, children, and everything already when you did this?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I had children. So I have a 20-year-old and a 9-year-old, and then have another set of twins.
Oh,
So yeah, I like to call myself the perpetual dad because I just seem to have kids every 10 years or so. So
nothing wrong with that. Well, good.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so that's huge right there. Just the courage to jump into that on your own and start your own business is pretty huge. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on that alone.
Thank you.
Guessing some of your policing experience gave you more of that bravado and courage that a lot of people don't always have and helps you push through the fear because I'm sure you still felt
Yeah.
the fear to do it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was scary because I mean, what if it fails?
Yeah.
Right? And that was one of the biggest things that went through my mind. What if it fails? What am I going to do then? But I had to switch my mindset to think, what happens if this does work? Where could I be if it does work? Right? So that
Yeah.
was part of my mindset and my thinking, and it was more of like pushing forward because of my family, and I had to really figure out my why. Why was I getting into business, and why was I doing this business in particular?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
figured that out. It really went from there.
Good. Yeah. So then you started out, it seems like it went successfully. And what would you say early on in the early days? What were some things that drove you to build it? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think you said you had 6 locations at one point.
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
This,
I don't know how quick you did that, but that's pretty large. So
yeah.
what drove you to get to 6 locations and what was that experience like?
Well, it was a mistake for one to grow that fast. I mean, I grew a couple years, I had multiple locations, and it was, I don't know, I think it was ego, really, because what had happened, I had opened my first business in a place called Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, which is, it's a town of about 30,000 people, and it's up north, Saskatchewan. When Saskatchewan state's audience is North Dakota, right? So that's in the country, and because of my training that I had gotten and the teachings that I had, my the dogs that I was producing was, I think they were better than what was in the area at the time. So I blew up, right? Like people were wanting me. I had clients. I had people calling me from like 10-hour drives away, dogs trained. So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm that good. Why don't I just open a location in this town? And without any structure or processes, procedures, anything, SOPs. I didn't even have any SOPs at the time. I wasn't even tracking my finances. I just thought, okay, I did quick math, like, okay, one board and train, I charge this much. Rent is this much. All I need is two board and trains and I'm living, right? I can do it. I didn't even think about hiring people. I didn't think about how much toll that was going to take on me traveling from location to location to location. So, yeah, like you said, I was up to 6 locations. I had locations in, so 3 in the province of Saskatchewan, and 2 in Alberta, which is the next province over, another in Columbia, which was drive away. And I was like myself ragged, and it was, yeah.
Yeah. So then from that experience, what if I asked you what are some of the early signs you might see a dog training business owner possess or symptoms that you might see them have early on that's leading them to the burnout I'm assuming you ended up getting to,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah. So what would you say are some of the early symptoms for someone? Because I don't know if you're like me or not, but it took me a while to wake up and realize that I was operating way too much, way too long every day, giving too much, and that I was burnt out. I didn't
Yeah.
even realize it, right? When you're in the middle of it, it's sometimes hard to step back and see that's actually what's going on. I just thought, oh, I love what I'm doing. So I just work all the time because it doesn't feel like work. It's great.
Yeah.
And there's some early signs that people can maybe can look in the mirror if they see these signs and go, oh gosh, that's me. Let's make sure I start putting some systems or changing direction before I get to burnout.
Yeah, I think it's if you're starting to realize that you're doing everything yourself, if you're able to delegate what you need to delegate, or if you don't trust other people to do what you're doing, those are some good warning signs. I think before ego, if your ego starts to get in the way and thinking that you can do everything, then I think
Yeah.
that's a good warning sign. Yeah, it's the burnout is if you're working 16-hour days,
Mhm.
you're not going to be helping anybody, yourself, the dogs, anybody. It's because the culture that we're in and business culture in general is for the most is grind, right? You got to grind if you want to make it, grind, grind, grind. But what I've learned over the past number of years is that you can still grind, but you have to grind efficiently, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
if you find yourself grinding and grinding and grinding and not really getting anywhere ahead, then that's huge, right? It's a huge warning sign.
Me, I was working 80-hour weeks and not having a life anymore. I had to say no to everything because my business always needed me.
Hmm.
And yet I would still get to the end of the month and be running out of money. Right. And I thought, this is not sustainable. Eventually, I realized this was not sustainable
Yeah.
and took two major restructuring changes, getting systems in place, and pricing changes to really come out of that. So that was
Hmm.
my experience. What are some of the things you did to dig yourself out of that? I mean, really essentially a prison, right? You end up kind of building a prison unknowingly for yourself. So how did you get out of that?
Well, like you said, it was like you. I know I didn't have time for anything, like my kids, anything, right? Like I had my one. He's 9 now, and he was like 5 years old at the time, and I was missing so much of my time with him, right? And all he saw was me on my phone, working, trying to be. Then there'd be times, like you said, I'd be stressed out at 2 in the morning because I can't payroll on Friday. Like, how am I
Mm.
going to pay payroll? And I got all these locations. I should be like raking in the money, right? But everything's hemorrhaging somewhere, and I have no idea where because I'm not tracking anything, right? So I was, I couldn't even afford. I had an acreage. Remember I told you I had my acreage where I started. I couldn't even live there. I had to rent it out because I couldn't afford to pay for it. So I was living in my facilities. All my right, like I room or one of the offices, I'd converted it into a bedroom. Another one, I had a sea can parked in the back of it where I slept, and ones I just like slept in the offices, right? So my sleep was always by dogs barking, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So finally, I had gone. There were so many things that I tried. I'm like, oh, I got to try this. This is going to be the magic pill, right? Come in and help me with my ads, and that's going
Okay.
to fix everything. I'm going to get sales help, and that's going to fix everything. But none of it fixed everything because it was all one-off things, and because I didn't have any systems in place to catch the leaks that were coming through, all that was wasted money, right? Like I had spent
Yeah.
so much money on agencies and I got tons of leads, but they weren't qualified leads and they were flowing through holes in my bucket, which I needed to fix.
Yes.
So my key point was, it was about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, where I'm like, okay, I need a business coach, right? I'm a dog trainer. I know everything I can about dog training. Like I'm gaining my experience. I've gone through tons of courses. I'm not going to say I'm the best trainer in the whole world, but I know how to train a dog, right? I was a police officer, so I know how to talk to people. I can do that. I didn't know how to run a business. I had zero lick of knowledge in a business, in running a business. So I'm like, I need a business coach. I've been spending money in all these years trying to fix, getting more certifications, more seminars in dog training, and thinking that was going to fix it too. So I'm like, let's just go for a business coach. I spent my last, I looked at my bank account. I think 5,000 bucks in there. I had a coach that I had met through that we had made, and he was 2,500 US. So I'm like, this is my last 5,000 bucks. Like, I'm gonna have like $1,000 left over, and I better make some money off of this. So I paid him for a month, and it just kept going from there. And then that's kind of where everything changed, is implementing real business structures and real business knowledge into the business. So
Nice,
yeah.
nice, very good. Yeah, I have to agree. Oddly enough, I had a business coach for the digital marketing and such. And I got so busy with my dog business that was really just supposed to be kind of a side hustle to help supplement my savings while I got this other business idea going.
Mhm.
And then it blew up and it overtook me. And so I just started applying everything my business coach was teaching me for a digital business where I could and how I could to my physical dog sitting business, right? And that is really what I contribute to. The only thing that actually saved me from drowning and hitting a brick wall and really end up closing shop because of it. So I can't. I agree. I think the business or the business coach is not just because we're coaches, but
Yeah.
if we utilize them ourselves, it can also help us grow as well. So here's something I find a lot of people really get stuck in is when they're in the chaos, when they're completely buried under the busyness, but they're stuck in that situation like it's a prison, or they're not making enough, or they can't seem to stop the holes in their bucket, like you
Mhm.
said. What are some ways, like, how did you get out of that when you're so busy? How do you even find the time to start putting in structure and processes and measurements?
Yeah. Well, I want to touch back. It's funny how you said, I just want to make a note. It's funny how you said you were going for another business because to fill your holes in your income. That's exactly what I did too. I wanted to try drop shipping and this and that and like sell t-shirts and whatever. So it's funny that you said that you did the same thing. But
The
um,
universe had other plans for us. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it was just you have to find the time. So I started getting up early. I started getting up at 4:30 in the morning,
Ah,
and working on my business stuff, looking at the KPIs, creating all that kind of fun stuff, the boring stuff, the stuff that people don't like to do. I
right.
made myself do it, and that was the key. And what my business coach, the first thing he told me was, "You have 6 locations, shut them all down but one."
Oh, that had to be scary.
That was a big kick to the ego. I was the top trainer in Western Canada, right? I had all these locations, fastest growing dog business in Canada, and but none of them, of course, were working. But he's like, shut it down. So now I got to admit failure, right?
Yeah.
And one location. So what
Or
I
at least
did
it
was,
felt like failure.
it
It
felt like
wasn't
failure.
necessarily failure. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah. So what I did was I had my original flagship location. I had taken it and I had sold it to my manager that was working there at the time that was helping me. So she
Nice.
got that flagship location as a testing for, I don't know, like a licensing agreement or franchise deal, right? So it was just kind of like, we'll see how this works, whatever. I kept the one location in my largest center, and that's where I concentrated all my efforts into. So early mornings, late nights, building the business side and not worrying so much about my dog training skills, I guess.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
nice. So discipline, I hear. You got discipline to get up early and to do the boring stuff that you didn't
Yeah.
want to do, right? and then overcoming the ego of seemingly looking like you failed by closing
Yeah.
all of these locations.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes back to I'm sure you've heard the 80/20 rule, where the 80% of your income is coming from 20% of your efforts or an area in your business or a product or what have you. So
Mhm.
you looked at the location that was bringing in the best, the
Yeah.
most, and decided to then focus all of your attention on that and get that really good. Now, in the future, you could probably, if you wanted to, I'm guessing, open up another location easily
Yeah.
because you have systems and standards and processes and whatnot in place, right? So, very good. Nice. You can't manage what you don't measure. So, I know you kind of touched on that a little bit, but tell me the importance of that and what things do you measure?
Well, you have to measure your leads that are coming in. You have to measure your sales conversions. You have to measure how much you pay for each lead that comes in. We even where our dogs are at each section, at each level of their training, right? A week, what the owners feel week by week, right? We have processes for asking those questions. We our monthly revenue, we track our expenses, I've even gotten into now we're going to be tracking even how much per hour it's going to be costing me per unit of dog training. So, but
Wow.
that's a little bit more advanced than a lot of people will do. But I mean, once you get to a certain level, you need that because if you want to grow, like you said, you have to measure everything to see where your flaws are, to see where your holes are, so you can, like I said before, patch them, right? And then, because if you're not doing that, you're making most of your decisions by gut feeling. And gut feeling and seeing a number in a bank account doesn't mean anything, right? Like, I don't know how much money I wasted. I'm like, oh, I need a new bite suit. I got X amount of money in the bank account. I'm just going to buy one. I got enough, right? I don't know. I'm
Right.
not thinking ahead to the next. I don't see what's coming. But if you're tracking everything, you can have projections and you can see what's ahead and you can actually make decisions based on data. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, very good. Now tell me, when you are working with clients, you have a system you call, I see on your t-shirt there too, CBOS. What does that
Yeah.
stand for?
Business operating system.
When you get people into your CBOS program,
Yeah.
30,000 foot level view of what are some of the things that they might get out of that and how it's going to benefit their business.
Yeah, so first, what we do is we have three pillars inside the CBOS. So we work on your sales skills, marketing skills, and marketing skills isn't just how to post ads, it's full marketing and like how to structure your offers. And then we have our operations. So each of those pillars is what I find is the three pillars in the business development. First thing when people come in, we get them to do what I call the CEO hourly rate, right? And I think I've seen about that as well. It's you find out what your desired income, your lifestyle, what you want to make, and then you divide that by the number that you're going to work, and it's going to give you the total your hour per hour rate that all of your services have to earn, or if you're doing it yourself, what I like to do as a business owner is I do that number, say it's 96 bucks an hour it comes out to. Anything that you can pay someone to do that's less than 90 bucks an hour, then you pay them to do it and you delegate that. And if it's more, then you do it yourself. So it's the CEO hourly rate gives you a very good overview on where to start pricing your services at and how to dictate what you're charging in your business, right?
I
So
love that.
yeah.
And who to delegate or what to delegate to
Mm.
people, who to hire, when to hire. That's great. Yeah, because it really gives you a goalpost of what to aim for. Because if you're why do you say 90 and under? If they're doing something that's only worth 80 an hour or something, why would you say delegate that?
Well, it just goes down to the example. Like, say, for example, I wanted to bring home $120,000 a year, and I only wanted to work, let's say, like 1,250 hours, right? That'll equal about 96 bucks an hour, right? So
Okay.
with how many weeks of you work and how many days off you have per week. So I'm just giving an example of 96 bucks, right? It could be
Yeah.
more, it could be less, depends on what you want your lifestyle to be, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like 96 bucks an hour, that is like the repeatable execution tasks, right? So if they're below that rate, like you can hire someone to do it. For example, like training, like hiring an extra trainer. If you're going to be able to pay them $30 an hour or $40 to train a dog for you, then you pay them that and you save your time for some of the higher skilled things that you need to do in the business, like the financing or the like creating new programs or things like that have to do with that can push your business forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're saving yourself in that example $60 an hour by delegating it to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Which brings up the dilemma that a lot of people go through, myself included, when I first start looking at hiring people is what if you don't see that you have, I mean, did you ever hire people before you knew you had the money to pay them?
yeah.
When do you decide to hire?
Well, back then it was on gut, and I just like I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'm going to hire them, and I'll pay them a commission, and I'll get the rest, right? And
Yeah.
my commission started out I was paying people too high because so when I first started, I wanted the dog training business to be a recognizable profession, right? I wanted people who were dog trainers to be recognized as someone with a skill, right? Because I don't know how many times when I told people when I was leaving the police, they said, "Well, what are you going to do now?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to open a dog training business. I'm going to be a dog trainer." And they always said, I've got so many times was, "How are you going to make money? What's going to be your real job?"
Wow.
And that was one of the drivers in why I grew the way I did and whatever, because I had to prove everybody wrong, right? So the in my head, I'm like, okay, well, this is what I want to do. I want to make sure that dog trainers they can make a living off of dog training. So I'm going to pay them, right? And then I didn't calculate what it was actually costing me to do it too, right? So it was, but now I have actual strategies in place to hire, right? If I'm making over a certain amount, or if we have X amount of dogs in a consistent 3 month, within a 3 month thing, if it's consistent, then I need to hire somebody else if I start to pay overtime hours, stuff like that. So it's
Uh-huh.
structured a little bit differently. It's actually got some thought behind it rather than, oh, okay, well, I think we should hire another trainer now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You have the data. Yeah.
Yes, we have the
You're
data.
measuring.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm assuming when you had to start looking at all the data and everything, you had to increase your prices too?
Yeah, we did. So it wasn't just a huge jump. When I first raised my prices, well, when I first started, I was like charging people $60 an hour and I was charging by the session, right?
Wow.
I found out very quickly that people would do one session and then they think they could do it themselves, right? Because I'm very passionate about what I do. So I would talk a lot and I would explain a lot and I would just push forth as much value as I could to these people and I'd want them coming back, right? Because
Yeah.
it was one of the things I did understand is if you make someone happy, they're going to come back. But you have to do it in a proper way, right? Because if you give someone too much information off the start, they're going to think they can do it themselves. And yeah, so I wasn't making that much money. And then I had talked to a friend of mine that had a business in the States and he kind of gave me some suggestions on raising my prices. So I raised my prices a bit and that was good, but it still wasn't enough. So as I grew and I started to understand more, my prices went up even more, right? And that's what that dream business calculator helps you to do because in the calculator you can drop in what you want your facility to make. Say if you wanted to make a $500,000 revenue, then you would do the same calculation and it would give you a baseline of what you should be charging per hour for your services, whether it's packages or whatever, right? So that's kind of how I address that. And then each time I raise my prices, I don't just raise them. I test it on a few people first. I have a system now where I have a sales team anyway, but they're directed at if you're starting to sell above this much, I think it's 65% sales close rate. If you're selling that much, then every three, four, and fifth person you try a new price on and
Mm.
track how many sales you get out of those three people. And then resets, and then you start again the next one. So it's once I get enough data on that I'm selling the higher price, then I raise my price again.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I like that. I never even thought about that. Okay, so then how do you handle, does it come into play, the whole psychology and the fear and the ego behind it? Because so many people are so afraid to raise their prices
Yeah.
and they don't have this fabulous calculator you call the dream business calculator. I think that's what you call yours. I
Yeah.
have one for
Yeah.
for the industry I'm in and whatnot too. And that really gives you clarity. But a lot of
Yep.
people don't have that clarity if they don't have the numbers
Yep.
telling them what they need to charge. So they just inch it up a couple bucks or something, right?
Yep.
And they're still struggling. They're still busy and still running out of money at the end of the month. So, what would you say is that very important? First of all, I know your answer on
Yep.
that with the data to choose the right pricing, but then how do you get over the inner communication that you're going through and the fears and emotions you're going through that prevent people really from charging their worth?
Yeah, for sure. So if anybody wants the Dream Business Calculator, it's on my Instagram. There's a link on it for free. You can go download the business calculator. It even helps you build a package price. So that'll work into your business calculator. So that's on there if you want to go check it out, do
Okay.
that. But
We'll put the link in the description here too.
yeah, sounds good. Psychological thing. That is, I don't know how many trainers I've talked to and worked with. That is their biggest fear, that if they raise their prices, they're going to lose their clients. But the fact of the matter is that when you charge more, you're going to get better clients. Better clients, and you don't have to work as much. When you're charging $200 an hour, for example, rather than 60 bucks an hour, you don't have to take on as many clients, so you're not working as much and you're not burning out, right? You have to think of it in that regard. You know, you're better client. I don't know how many times I had my prices raised, and then I prices $4,200 for a board and train, but because you're close, I'll give you $300 discount, and you can stay an extra week, and you can do this and that, and I'll give you some boarding, and I'm start discounting my prices and everything. And when I start doing, that's when I notice people start taking advantage of you, right? The times that I felt bad for people are the times that those were the worst clients that didn't do their homework. They're the ones that complained the most and the ones that left bad reviews. So what I learned is that when you charge premium prices, you're working less and you're getting better clients. That's
Yeah.
bottom line.
Premium
Yeah.
prices equals premium clients.
Yes.
What
100%.
about the person out there that says, but every dog, no matter, I want to be that dog trainer that helps the family that doesn't have the money but needs help with their dog?
Yeah. Yeah, that one's a tough one too. I mean, the industry's flooded with dog trainers. There's a lot of dog trainers that will do that. What I believe is if you're confident in your skills, if you've invested in yourself and you know you can help people, people are going to pay the money for it. But you have to portray that. You can't, once you start, like I said, having the low prices, people don't see us as professionals, right? And I think when you start working at lower prices, you burn out and you don't help any dogs, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
it. You run yourself ragged. Because it happened to me. I lost my passion for training and I didn't want to train anymore. And
Oh,
I
wow.
almost quit. There was times that I almost closed the doors and said, I'm done with this because I can't do it anymore at what I'm making, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Been there. Been
yeah.
there. Certainly had those thoughts go through my mind in the past. I've said before on my podcast, it's like if you are taking on that, I'm going to be the charity worker and I'm going to charge very little so that all of the families that have a low income can have services for their dog because their dog needs it too. It's like offering to pay for the new wardrobe for your client to go on a cruise.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
they took on the dog as their financial responsibility,
Yeah.
period. So why are you transferring that responsibility to yourself as the business owner? It's not your responsibility. So then I kind of go into therapy on that and let's dig in as to why you feel like this is your responsibility to do what somebody else signed up to take care of, right?
Exactly.
So,
I mean, people are buying 60, $70,000 trucks. They're going to Disneyland. They're going to movies. They're going out for dinner, right? If it's all about responsibility and what people feel like they need to pay for, right? And if the people feel, like you said, if they feel like they don't need to pay for dog training, that much for dog training, that's not your responsibility to make that decision for them,
yeah.
right? I mean, I'm not saying that you can't have, like we do this sometimes. We'll have what we call scholarships, where we'll have one dog every quarter or something like that for a low income family that needs help. And but we have to. There's certain criteria, of course, that maybe they want to, if they're going to commit to doing the homework. If they don't do the homework, they're kicked out. That kind of thing, right? But You can also give forward, give for people too, without sacrificing yourself. But you have to structure it in a way that it's not like you're not giving everybody a discount. You're not lowering your prices so much where it's hurting you. You have to be able to sustain that as well and give forward. Yeah. We
Yeah.
also work with sometimes fosters and stuff too, right? If people have fosters, we'll take in a foster for a little bit and then help them transfer to a new owner, right? So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
I love that. So what you're doing there, it sounds like, is you are actually putting into place some systems that you can utilize with your scholarship or helping with the fosters to nourish that side of you of wanting to give. Because I do find a lot of people who work with dogs, I call it the pet sitter's
Mhm.
curse, where it's like we're so compassionate and so empathetic and so giving
Yeah.
that that can actually hurt our business to the point where we have to close up and can't help anybody.
Yeah.
And so there you're kind of permanently implementing ways to still be able to be yourself and give,
Yeah.
right? And do something of good to others or to your community and the dogs. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Good job.
But you have to have
So
systems in it, of course, right?
yeah,
You have to have a
yeah,
process for it.
I love it. You've become the
Yeah.
master. It sounds like you've become the master of systems. So I
I'm
love it.
trying. I'm trying.
So then you said you really go into one of the pillars about structuring your offer. Now, this has, I think, for me, I teach people this has a lot to do with your price increase,
Yeah.
the structure of the offer. So can you give us a little bit more detail on that, your
For sure.
philosophy on and what's important about structuring the offer?
Yeah. So what I found is that most dog trainers, if you look on dog training websites and Facebook groups and whatever else, everybody's the same. Everybody says the same thing. I train dogs. We teach loose leash walking. Blah 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 blah. Right? Everybody's the same, no matter where you look. Right? So what I teach is teaching a proprietary method. Right? So you have to, if you increase your price, you have to look. If you want to charge premium prices, you have to sound and look premium. Right? So what I do is we help them create a proprietary system where only they have that system, right? It's a system that they've developed on to how they go about structuring training dogs, right?
Yes.
One of my biggest pet peeves, pet peeves is that I hate it. I hate when people say dog trainers, this is very big in the dog training industry, is train the dog in front of you. That irks me because while I agree with it on some levels, you have to have a system in place to train every dog and then you work on the dog in front of you, right? So that's my theory is that every dog starts with the same process and then you fix the things that the people need help with, right? Every dog is different in that way, but every dog will benefit from a certain beginning structure, right? So I think when people hear train the dog in front of you, it's misleading because it says that you don't have to have a system. You can just train a dog, right? But that's where you get into looking at like every other dog trainer, right? Like, and then nobody's going to pick you because you just don't stand out in a crowd. If you have a proprietary system, like mine is the clarity method. So we talk about like how it's pretty much how we structure our program from beginning to end, right? So how the dog will come out. And there's the clear method that I've helped other people use, or it's just if someone sees that on our website, they're going to be, wow, okay, well, that's different. Everywhere else said they just train my dog to sit and lay down, right? So you have
Nice.
to be able to stand out.
Yeah. And I'm guessing when you work with clients, you kind of can start to see once you dig into the details of how they do things that they probably already have a system in place. Or a method in place that's kind of unique. They just don't call it anything yet, or they
Yeah.
haven't really thought about that yet, right?
Yeah, in some
Yeah.
cases, I mean, the more experienced dog trainers will,
Yeah.
they'll have that and they don't know it. But I mean, I think there's a lot that don't, and they just charge by the hour. Like I told you, I did at the beginning, was I
Yeah.
charged this, and then I just want to add to that frustrates clients too because there's no end date to it either, right? Everyone's just
Yeah.
paying for session by session by session by session, and there's no, oh, okay,
Oh,
well, one day the dog is trained, right? But part of the
Yeah.
proprietary system that we teach is having a deliverable end date as well. So
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Otherwise, the client could start to feel like you're taking advantage of them, like
yes,
it's going on too long. I've had a
yeah,
chiropractor do that, so I get that.
yeah,
I love what you're talking about because I kind of call it the for pet sitters, you want to be at least for dog boarding and daycare from home like I do. You want to be the when you display the benefits of your service along with your pricing, this is how you get over that fear of that price hump is you have to make sure you're showing them that you have a private country club versus the local YMCA,
yeah,
right? So if you don't stand out and show them how it's going to benefit them compared to if they go to the local YMCA or the next door neighbor pet sitter, then you're not going to stand out. And it is going to be a lot harder to sell with a
mhm,
premium price. So I love that because you have a really good system of getting people to structure the offer, as you call it. And really, that's a pretty easy way to do it, in my
yeah.
opinion. So I think that's great.
I think
Okay.
if you don't have a structure and an offer, you can't guarantee anything because if you have a structure, then you know that if you do the process, every dog's going to turn out with with a end result that you want, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just kind of doing it willy-nilly, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But so that just builds on the confidence, right? Once you train a few dogs in your system and they all kind of turn out the same with the same results, then that helps you build and understand that pricing structure on, okay, I can charge more because this is what I produce
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah. And then you have a consistent objective, right? Where Tony Robbins, I think, always says, where focus goes, energy flows. So if you don't have that focus, an objective to get to, yeah, you might end up getting varied results that are good and not so good. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and that's hard to sell if you don't have anything you can depend upon. Because then what comes into play is another part of what you teach, I believe, about testimonials or reviews and
Yes.
whatnot, and how important those are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you brought up the guarantee part, but I think I saw in one of your reels, no, don't offer no money back guarantee. How come?
Mhm. Because it it devalues you. I think if you're giving money back guarantees, what I like to do is offer continued training guarantee or that will restart the program for no amount of money, that kind of thing, right? Or we guarantee that you'll have support for the next X amount of months after. I think the money back guarantee, it devalues you and it gives the clients a way out, right? So if there's somebody that's there that's not really sold on your product to begin with, they won't do their homework. They'll blame everything on you, and then you'll have to give your money back, even though maybe you have trained the dog and you've seen the dog perform. They're not doing their stuff at home, so of course it's not going to translate over, right?
Right.
So the way we do it is we have a guarantee, but it's very structured. They have to take part in certain things in order for the guarantee to be valid. And we have checkpoints for and we have systems for that and checkpoints for that, right? Like we have to see that they've been watching the training videos that we provide. They have to check in with us because we do follow-ups every week during the program, and then we start out every week for the first month, and then every 2 weeks, and then every month for the next 6 months. So we follow up with people and we make sure, and if they're not checking in with us or they're not answering the messages or if they're not bringing up any problems, watching the videos, stuff like that, then their guarantee is void, right?
Okay.
So it just helps people keep people accountable because that is one of the pillars in our training system is accountability because we believe that it's not just on the trainer to do it, it is on the people, the clients as well, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Very good. That's great. Do you ever have clients who go into the client's home, or do they all have facilities that the dogs come to?
The people that I'm training, it's varied between a facility and in home. So
Yes.
yeah, so there's differences in how you would structure that,
Yeah.
but yeah, my personal we don't go in my business in my dog training business. We don't do in-home stuff. I have a different mentality behind or a theory behind training in home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's hear
so
it.
well, I just think that if you're training a dog in the person's home and in order to change behavior, there has to be some level of stress, right? And recovery. And it's for every being, like it's for people too. We can't grow unless we get stress and we learn how to overcome that stress. And with dogs, people hate to hear it. People hate to say, "Oh, you're just stressing my dog out." But there's a difference from what the stress that I'm talking about to the stress that people are thinking in their brains, right? But when you're training a dog at home, when you put them under a little bit of stress, first of all, you're a stranger coming into their home, which is stress. Second, that's their safe space. So they have places that they hide and they aren't bothered and whatever, right? So it's really hard to get the proper results from a dog if you're training in their home environment where they feel safe. Now, when you take them out into the real world or a place that they've never been, you get a little bit more genuine behavior, right? You can see the dog in more of its natural sense because they're not comfortable. So
They don't have their safety zones everywhere. And
exactly,
yeah.
yeah. So that's where you can build the structure and help them increase their confidence and overcome those stresses is there. So that's why I don't do any in home until after the training is done. Once we do the training, if there's follow-ups that need to be done, then we'll do it inside the home. But other than that, I don't believe in it. And I'll probably have other trainers telling me I'm wrong, but hey, you know what? That's the dog training world. That's the only thing that 2 or 3 dog trainers can agree on, right? Is that one of them is wrong. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. You get it in the pet sitting world too, trust me.
Mm.
The boarding and the daycare and what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be
Oh, yeah.
doing, and all
Yeah.
that jazz. And I go against the grain on a lot of the stuff that creates some controversy every now and then if I happen to voice my opinion online, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay, so I liked one of your posts, and some of this we've already kind of touched on, but really I want to dive in on one of the points mostly. But one of your posts said something about to be a successful business owner, dog training business owner, it depends on if you will do some of these hard things. Raise your
Mm.
prices when you're scared that no one will pay them.
Mhm.
Say no to wrong clients,
Yeah.
right? Build SOPs for your future team, even if you don't
Yeah.
have one yet. And then the last one, this is what I'd like you to dive in a little bit more on some details of how you did this. Invest in coaching before you feel ready, but also not just, I think it also related to just investing in yourself.
Invest in yourself.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, did you mean just coaching or was there more to that?
Well, in that circumstance, it was coaching, but I believe in just investing in yourself, period. Right? Like if you're not taking care of yourself, then how are you going to take care of a team or how are you going to take care of other people's dogs? Right?
Right.
But in that circumstance, in that video, I narrowed it down to coaching because I got coaching too late. Right? Everybody, like I said, everybody that I know of that I've ever talked to in the dog training world, we think that getting more certifications in dog training is going to make us a better business owner. They think that because we have all these certifications on our webpage, that the public cares about it. The public doesn't care about our certifications. They have no idea what those certifications mean, right? Like there's certain ones like even the 4-letter acronyms that people have and stuff like that. They don't know. They don't know. So if I could go back and do it again, I would invest immediately. That would be the first thing I did after coming out of dog trainer school. After I know how to become a dog trainer, after I knew the basics, because once you know the basics, it's just time. Time and experience is going to help you get to be a better dog trainer. But if you have no idea about business, that is the first thing that I would invest in is dog coaching, not dog coaching, business coaching, because that'll give you the longevity. That'll help you save so many mistakes and so much money. And yeah, and that goes along with it because if you don't have the discipline to follow through with what your coach says, if you haven't built that personal discipline and investing in yourself and being healthy and having a positive mindset and all that stuff, you can pay for it and you can have that coach, but you might not have the discipline to do it, right? So
Yeah.
it all
Yeah.
it all comes together, but yeah, the coaching is kind of what I was drilling at first.
So that sounds like that was your biggest game changer for you in your business to get where you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting because the because I had post-traumatic stress injury, it's a lot of like depression and mental health stuff going on, right? So I found that because I was so busy, I wasn't thinking about that kind of stuff. Like I wasn't it kept it out of my brain, right? Like I wasn't
Yeah.
depressed, and my brain was tied up in other things, trying to figure out how my business was going to keep open, right?
Yeah.
But so once I got sorted out with like figuring myself out, because I had gained a bunch of weight, I was like, because all I did was my business stuff. I'd be eating out because I'd be traveling all the time, not taking care of my body. My body was breaking down, and so yeah, once I started investing in myself, and then eventually then it went into in coaching, everything changed. The coaching was the key factor, and if I wasn't ready for it mentally, then it wouldn't have helped anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Now, for someone who doesn't have coaching, what would you say when if they're in the middle of burnout and
Mhm.
they have a ton of clients, they're busy all the time, they're working till late hours, and they're still not making the income that they want, and they're not obviously making a sustainable business. What would you say if you had to is the first thing they should really narrow in on besides getting a coach?
I would say the CEO hourly rate
Yeah.
and prices, raising your prices.
Why is that?
Because if you figure out, because that's, I think that's going to be like the heartbeat of your business. If you don't know the minimum amount that you need to be charging to pay your bills or to make the life that you want to make, then everything else is just flying by the seat of your pants, right?
Yeah.
We're too busy thinking about what the other trainer is charging and trying to undercut them and get the most clients. But if we position ourselves differently, if we structure our pricing differently, and we understand the method and the theory behind the pricing points, then you'll come out of that slump very quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that was the biggest game changer for me. Once I figured out the calculator and see, I use because of the pet sitting business, we have the dog walk. Some people offer different services, right? Dog walking, pet sitting, in home versus at home, and the clients versus yours, daycare, what have you, even some
Mhm.
training thrown in there. So they could have this large variety of pricing, holidays, puppies, the list goes
Yeah.
on. And that's where I really struggled because I really couldn't see, I couldn't just average it all out because I had so many different levels. I always like to say I had too many paws in the cookie jar there
Yeah.
because it was just too much to figure out. And so I would try to average and I would try to guesstimate and then I'd set my new prices. And then 6 months later, I was like, this hasn't, nothing's changed and I'm still losing my mind. And just like you, I gained weight. I wasn't able to eat healthy or work out because it just was so consuming. And then when I threw in, luckily, I had a really good friend with an MBA and very knowledgeable mathematically engineer who helped me put together this weighted averages for somebody with so many variables in their business like mine that was the biggest game changer because not only then could I dream about my dream income, but
Yeah.
I could also dream about my dream schedule, right?
Yeah.
How often I want to work, how much time I want off, so that I can start valuing or prioritizing my value of being healthy or working out or being with family and what have you. So that was, I agree, the biggest game changer. When you get the pricing right, then everything it's a lot easier to start clicking everything into place. And if you start there, then that gives you some breathing room to be able to start focusing on other processes and systems and structures and hiring and delegating and all that fun stuff too.
Exactly.
So, very good.
None of us get into being a business owner to work the rest of our lives ragged, right? We
Yeah,
get in for
the opposite.
financial freedom, right?
Yeah, or even time freedom.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because we think I'll be my own boss and
Yeah.
I'll work when I want to. And then all of a sudden you're like, I work all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more like you work when you have to, and it's all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Until you get, and it's very paradoxical because people think I find people think, myself included in the past, that if I put more rules and structures and processes in place, then I'm kind of bounding myself. I'm, tying myself up, but really it gives you more freedom right?
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And those aren't, they're not on like stone tablets either. They're on Word documents that if something comes up, you can change it. It's easy. You can I don't know how many times I've changed my SOPs because we found a better way to do it or more
Yeah.
efficient way to do it, or this wasn't working the way I thought it was going to, right? So we change them and or we add new things that things come up. So it's just there, it's an ever changing organism, right? It's
Yeah.
your business ecosystem is your SOPs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Constantly revolving. Even for
Yep.
me, doing it from home, it's just using different tools, different doggy gates or what have you, where I finally find a good one and go, I can't believe I lived with that bad one for so long. So yeah, I totally agree. Well, this is all great information, I think, for people to just hear what the experience is to grow a business from scratch and get to the burnout and figure out how to reimagine it, I like to say, into a place of where you dreamed originally it would go to. So thank you so much. Now, is there anything on your CBOS program that you want to leave people with or how they can, I'll put a link in the description of that, but is that, tell me a little bit more about that. Is that a specific time? Like how long is it? Or is it an ongoing program? How does that work?
All right, so we have two things right now. So right now, the first thing that we're doing, where most people like to start. So if you're unsure and you just kind of want to get a good idea on what's going on, I'm having what I do is I call it the Leash Rich Challenge. So it's a 5 day challenge. The next one is July 20th. We run 5 days. We work on sales, marketing, and operations, and then we give you a 90-day plan at the end. So it's 19 bucks. I only charge 19 bucks because I want people to have a little bit of skin in the game if they're going to do it. I've tried free stuff and then people just don't do it. But if the people put down money, they're going to do it. It's the same theory as the premium client, right? But
Yes. And my coach
so
always says when there's a transaction, that's when the transition begins.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we go over the program structure, pricing, sales, marketing, and operations. We kind of give you a little glimpse into the whole CBOS CEO Academy, and that one is I've just launched that CEO Academy. So what we're doing right now is 5 days a week for 12 weeks. So you get 60 live calls, working like I said on those three pillars. The first call on Mondays is an accountability call. Then we have a sales, a marketing, and an operations call. And then the Friday is the implementation call. So we do 5 days a week for 12 weeks. So this is an ongoing thing. So if someone is interested and they want to jump in on that, we've done week one already. All they'd have to do is catch up on week one and they could join in for live for the next one. So yeah, so if you already know your numbers and you know your systems are broken and you need the full system, the CEO Academy is where that lives. I've included, like I said, the 60 live calls. I'm white labeling all of my SOPs. So there's 156 documents that people get of SOPs, plus KPI, spreadsheets, books, worksheets for every pillar that we have in there. So it's a huge value because when I built this, I really wanted to make sure, like I said before, I want dog training industry to be a professional industry, and there's so much confusion and arguing and back and forth with the dog training industry that it confuses clients and it just shows unprofessionalism. So I've created this because I want people to be able to have a system and a business structure that they can implement and have it as a professional business instead of just being a hobby trainer, right?
Mhm.
So that's what I had in mind when I built it. So I can leave you, I just, if you're interested in the whole academy, just send me a DM on Instagram. But if you're interested in the Leash Rich Challenge, I'll give you the link, and it's just becomeLeashRich.com. And yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Like it's
And what's your Instagram handle?
Arsenault.
Okay. And
Yeah.
again, I'll put that in the description as well.
Yeah. I had to
So,
put official in there because just in case anyone was trying to copy me. So
oh, because you got so big with six
oh,
locations,
for
they
sure. Yeah.
might. Well, thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate you being here. Is there anything,
No,
any final words you want to leave with the audience?
just don't be afraid to raise your prices. That's it. If you raise your prices and you have an understanding on why you're raising your prices, things are going to change for you. So that's it.
Yeah, I
That's it.
concur. Yeah, very good. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it and best of luck.
Thanks, April. Talk to you soon. Bye.